In 2014, I did a fast with a group of women from church, and one of the things that I was praying about was about my future husband, future bae. And
Me?
I didn't know it was you yet. Let me tell it. So one of the things that I did, or I felt like God was telling me, was to pray for him, as well as write him a letter and to buy him something.
Me.
Luke. Okay, so I wrote the letter and I bought a box. And I put the letter in the box, and God told me to buy him a tie. But I'm like, how do you buy a tie for somebody you don't know? Whatever. So I tabled it. Put the thing away, and that was 4 years ago. Then in 2016, my cousin and I, who I traveled with a lot, we came back from London and we were talking about just what the future would look like when we met our husbands and so on. And we did say, we kind of need a code word for the husband, without having to say the husband every time we were in public. And we talked about referring to these husbands as pineapples, right? So we went to Alex and Ani and bought pineapple bracelets. See here, Exhibit A. Okay. So I got this bracelet in 2016.
Let's see what the pineapple look like.
Okay. got the bracelet in 2016, and I've been wearing it since. In 2017, two girlfriends and I did another 40-day fast. Just trying to move some things in our lives. Business, personal, professional, whatever. And at the end of that fast, a few things happened. One of those things was that I had to let somebody who was in my life and seemed to kind of be dipping in and out. It just wasn't working. So God told me to let that man go. Okay? I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about that because that's not the point of this story. But I have to take that out. But the day after the fast ended, I actually met Luke at a girlfriend's foundation event.
Who?
Gabby. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And so we meet at this event, and actually I had heard about Luke before, but I'm like, who is this Luke? Whatever. So he rolls up on me at the event, introduces himself and makes some small talk. Called the wrong name, and he was like, I've seen you in a picture before. Do you know so and so? And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not the person that you're talking about. But so he's like, whatever. So we talk, and all right, so we talk, and life sort of goes on. We connect on social media after that, and he starts coming for me in my DMs and starts trash talking and so on, and that turned into more conversation and witty banter and so on. And then we went on our first date on November 3rd of that same year, 2017. We go on that date back in November, and fast forward, we're friends, getting to know each other and so on. And then I was getting ready to go to Paris. That's what's happening, right? Yes. It's getting ready to go to Paris. And by that time, things are okay, but, he's gone through things. I'm dealing with life, whatever. We have a conversation where I actually tell him, seems like you have some things going on. I'm just going to tap back into the dating circuit and carry on. Just before I leave, though, I don't know how to tell that part.
We hugged.
No, more than hugged. Luke kissed me just before I left for this trip. I come back from Paris and he makes a meal and I'm like, so what are we, what's that like? What are we doing? Right? Like, what are we doing? And Luke is like, I guess you can like chime in here. He's like, well, I want to tell you what it is I'm doing. And he lays out just what he wants. Here's what I want to see happen. I want a relationship and I'm wanting it to result in marriage. And I'm like, well, okay. So, here's what I need. And it's like sort of a wrap from there. So, life goes on. And we're like, deciding that we're going to commit to this relationship together. And we're talking about marriage. Because at this point, we've been friends for like 9 months. It was pretty clear like we're doing it or we're not doing it. I knew who he was in my life, but there had been no distinct like, you are my wife, you are my husband, so on and so on. So I'm praying about things, though I know what's happening. And one day, like Luke calls, and we talk like several times a day. He calls me up. We'd spoken. He got the phone. He calls me back and he's like, I know we just spoke, but I gotta tell you about like, what I just saw in Banana Republic. So he proceeds to gush about a few things. Like he gushes about a shirt, describes the shirt as like a striped shirt with like pink stripes or whatever the case is. And then he talks about this tie. I didn't think anything of it. I think I mentioned the tie already earlier, right? So he talks about this tie and starts to describe it. And he's like, tie is bad. Now, as much as we talk about like fashion and everything, he'd never been so descriptive about anything. He'd never been so excited about any clothes. But then he describes the tie as this navy blue tie. And I think like time just slowed down. He's like, and it has gold pineapples on it. I'm like, okay. Okay. We get off the phone and I'm like, I didn't say anything to him about it. I want you to understand that like Luke knew nothing about the tie. He knew nothing about the letter. He knew nothing about like just like what my process had been up until this point. This is 2018. I wrote that letter back in 2014, February 2014. And my cousin and I talk about the pineapples in 2016. And about the time that he called about this tie and describing the gold pineapples, I was asking God, I had a few Gideon moments where I was asking God, like, I need you to tell me plain and simple if this is the husband that we've been waiting for. And if it's not, I'm prepared to walk away and have that conversation and call it a day. When he called with his navy blue tie and these gold pineapples, I was like, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. You're already rolling?
Mm-hmm.